Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I would like to say thank you for coming in our presentation today. First of all, let's say thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala because of His blessing we can come here to join in this class. And also, we would like to say thanks to Ibu Neni for giving us the opportunity to present the material. Alright, before we go to the presentation, let me introduce myself and my partners. I'm Hilda Sri Kastury with my ID numbers 2021220005 as a moderator. Will guide you in this presentation. Then my partner, Sari Lestari with ID number 2021220003 and Nadya Sri Astuti Anwar with ID number 2021222017 and then Haifa Nurlistyaningsih with ID number 2021222023 and the last is Salma Ayu Belkis with ID number 2021222027. They are presenters. In this presentation, we are going to discuss about slang and idiom. So the material that we will explain today, the first is the definitions of slang and idioms. Then the second one is slang and idiom functions, and then characteristics of slang and idioms, list words of slang and list phrases of idiom, and finally classification of slang and idioms. Alright, now let's jump into the material. For the first material will be delivered by Salma. For Salma, time is yours.
Alright, thanks to the moderator. So for the first, slang, by definition, is a very informal language that is usually spoken rather than written, used especially by particular groups of people. According to Britannia, that slang is unconventional words or phrases that express either something new or something old in a new way. Slang is informal language words that are not typically part of what is accepted as correct use of language. Slang terms can be related to location, a rural or urban area, or to a specific group of people. For example, teenagers often use slang terms that their parents do not understand. This slang of the past is different than the slang of today, but some slang has carried over into the present. The important thing to understand that slang is casual talk and you should avoid using it in formal context. Next, about functions of slang. Partridge provides a long list of the possible reasons for using slang. Namely, it is for fun, humor, playfulness, to be creative, to reduce the excessive seriousness of a conversation, to be secretive, and it is for solidarity. Then, slang commonly uses to serve social purposes, such as it is to identify members of a group, to exchange the level of discourse in the direction of informality, and to oppose established authority. So, that's enough for me. I give it to Sari as the second presenter.
Alright, thank you Salma for giving me the opportunity. I will continue the materials. Next is about characteristic of slang. M.Pd 2009, page 17, explains some characteristics of slang are as follows. The first one is fresh and creative. Fresh and creative mean that slang language has totally new vocabulary, informal variety, cleverness, imagination, and it also can be an up-to-date word. The example is the slang word daddy. Daddy, noun used as a term of address for men, especially an older man. Second is flippant. Flippant means that slang language has irrelevant word of context. The example is privilege. The slang word privilege means good luck for an actor. It is theatrical superstitions consider a wish of good luck to be tempting fate. The third is imitative. Imitative means that slang word imitating the standard English word, using standard English words in different meaning or combining two different words. The example is wanna. This slang word is derived from phrase word want to. Fourth is acronym. Acronym is the type of slang constructed by the result of words from the first letter of each word in a phrase, or this type is made by the initial from a group of words or syllable. The example is LOL, use an internet search and to mean laugh out loud. Next is clipping. Clipping is one of the characteristics of slang made by deleting of some part of longer words become a shorter form in the same meaning. The example is the use of word cause to mean because. The words which commonly used can be clipped into shorter form. In addition, clipping form is not appropriate to use in formal conversation. And the last is onomatopoeic. Onomatopoeic means that slang language has imitation word. The example is buzz, like winds. The next material is about list of words that use in slang. As you can see here, there are several lists of words that use in slang. For example, the phrases check it out, check this out, have a meaning look at, watch, examine, and then chocoholic, workaholic, and shopaholic have a meaning a person who loves and addicted to chocolate, or work, or shopping. For the other example, you can see in the table of this slide. Well, that's all I can describe. For next material will be delivered by Nadya. For Nadya, time is yours.
Alright, thanks to Sari, and next I will continue the material about classification of slang and the definition of idiom. Classification of slang are divided into three, namely teen, social networks, and informal construction. Teens are usually used by teenagers like ace, to have a blast, cheesy. Ace is the meaning of great. For example, how's the concert? It was ace. You can see in this slide. And then for social network, it is usually used in the internet like IOW, the meaning is in the other word, and then IMO, in my opinion, and for the other example, you can see this table of slide. And the third is informal construction, you can see in this slide, like me in the formal is give me, gonna in the formal is going to, and so forth. Next, I will explain about the definition of idiom. An idiom is an expression that takes on a figurative meaning when certain words are combined, which is different from the literal definition of the individual word. For example, let's say I said, "Don't worry, driving out to your house is a piece of cake." We would understand that the expression piece of cake means that is easy. Normally, we obviously would not associate the word cake when it is on its own as anything other than dessert. But in this context, it is a well-known idiom. So, an idiom is a group of words that are used as a common expression whose meaning is not deducible from that of the literal word. Idioms are used frequently in both written and spoken English. That's all from me. I give it to the next presenter, Haifa. Haifa, time is yours.
Thanks to Nadya, I will continue the material. The second is functions of idiom. Idioms are a type or figurative language that can be used to add a dynamism and character to otherwise stale writing. The third is characteristics of idiom. According to Nuremberg, Ivan and Wessel, 1994 pp 492 until 493, as cited in Mabruroh 2015 v11, the characteristics of idioms in 5 ways are as follows. Number 1, conventionality. Idioms are conventionalist. Their meaning or use cannot be practiced or at least anteriorly predicted. Number 2, inflexibility. Idioms typically appear only in a limited number of syntactic frames or constructions, unlike freely composed expressions. The breeze was short. Number 3, figurations. Idioms typically involve metaphors, take the bull by the horns, metonymize, lend a hand, hyperboles, not worth the paper it is printed on, or other kinds of figurations. Number 4, proverbiality. Idioms are typically used to describe an implicity, to explain a recurrent situation of particular social interest becoming restless. And number 5 is informality. Idioms are typically associated with relatively informal or colloquial registers and with popular speech and oral culture. That's all from me. I give it to Hilda.
Alright, thanks to the previous presenter, I will continue the material regarding the list of phrases of idioms and classifications of idioms. The first material is about a list of phrases of idioms. As we can see in the table, there are several examples of idioms and their definitions. The first one is a blessing in disguise, which means a good thing you do not recognize at first. And the second one is a piece of a cake, which means easy to do. And then the third one is better late than never, which means it is better to do something late than not at all. And then get over it, which means recovers from something like a perceived insult. And then I have no idea, which means I don't know. For other examples, you can see in the table. Alright, the second material is about classification of idioms. According to their grammatical or syntactic function in the text, idiomatic expression can be divided into nominal idioms, verbal idioms, adjectival idioms, adverbial idioms, and sentence idiom. The first is nominal idiomatic expressions. Are those idioms that perform the function of the noun in the sentence. The most typical grammatical patterns in this group are noun plus conjunction plus noun, for example, chapter and verse, and then adjective plus noun, for example, a small fortune, funny bone, gray matter noun, and then noun plus noun, and then noun plus conjunction plus noun, and the last is noun plus preparation plus noun. The second is verbal idioms. Verbal idioms are the most frequent ones. The first is verb plus noun. Its function is to mark time, to take place, and to break the news. And then verb plus preparation. Its function is to look on, to water down, and then to show up or to appear. And then verb plus preparation plus noun. Its function is to read between the lines and to fish for information. And then verb plus noun plus preparation. Its function is to cast an eye over. And the last is verb plus pronoun plus past part. Its function is to keep someone posted. And then adjectival idioms. Adjectival idioms are those groups of idioms that perform adjectival function in a sentence. They usually contain one or more adjectives. The adjectives appear mostly with another element, a noun or a verb, which makes them a nominal or verbal phrase. For example, speak and span, or very dirty. The next is adverbial idiomatic expressions. Adverbial idiomatic expressions are those groups of idioms that function as adverbs in the sentence. They usually contain one or more adverbials. Most of English idioms in this group follow patterns like preparation plus adjective, and then preparation plus noun with or without an article, for example, in the doghouse or in this favor, and then adverb plus preparation plus noun. And then the last is sentence idioms. Idioms are stable. The constituents cannot be changed or replaced. So the sentence idioms are sayings and proverbs, which can be subdivided into simple, compound, and complex sentences. For example, am I your brother's keeper? This is in the form simple. And then pig might fly if they had wings. This is in the form complex. And then one boy's a boy. Two boys are half a boy. Three boys are no boy at all. This is in the form compound. And he who has ears, let him hear. This is in the form complex. And the last is whatsoever a man showed, that should he also reap. This is in the form compound. So, from the explanation, we can conclude that slang is informal language words that are not typically part of what is accepted as correct use of language. Meanwhile, an idiom is a group of words that are used as a common expression whose meaning is not deducible from that of the literal words. Idioms are used frequently in both written and spoken English. Idiom may include colloquialism, proverbs, slangs, and allusions. Alright everyone, maybe that's all for the presentation today. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.